Is in mourning following a shooting this weekend. The shooting took the life of an 18-year-old who had just graduated high school.
But it's, who wants to look, simple when you can look stunning?
Please don't die for my heavy feet. 3.5 just they help me sleep. I do a bitch like Joel and B.
Just days after celebrating one of the biggest milestones of her life, 18-year-old Ramya Rene Silvan was dead. Only a short time earlier, she had walked across the graduation stage, surrounded by cheers from family members, proud friends, and classmates preparing to begin the next chapter of their lives. She had spent months thinking about college, weighing her options, and imagining the future that lay ahead. Like so many young people standing at the edge of adulthood, she believed her story was just beginning. But before she could attend her first college class, before she could settle into campus life, and before she could fully experience the future she had worked so hard to build, everything came to an abrupt and devastating end. Investigators would later allege that the person responsible was someone she once trusted, someone who had appeared in her photographs, someone who had shared important moments of her life. A young woman who should have been preparing for college instead became the victim of a tragedy that left an entire community searching for answers. This is the story of Ramya Rene Silvan, and how a future filled with promise was stolen only days after graduation. Before we begin, if you're new to the channel and you enjoy well-researched true crime stories that focus on the victims and the facts of each case, please take a moment to subscribe. It helps the channel grow and ensures you don't miss future stories. And as you're watching today's case, I'd also like to hear from you. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I always find it fascinating to see how many different cities, states, and countries are represented in this community. Then, after you've finished the video, come back and share your thoughts on this case. What part of Ramya's story impacted you the most? What are your thoughts on the events that unfolded? I read as many comments as possible, and I look forward to hearing your perspective. Now, let's begin.
Welcome to my first video. So today I'm just gonna be introducing myself. So hi, how you doing? You doing good? That's good. If you're not, do better. Period. So today, oh wait, I already said that.
Graduation is often described as the beginning of a new journey. For students, it represents years of effort, sacrifice, and determination finally paying off. It marks the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. For Ramya, graduation was more than just receiving a diploma. It was proof that she had made it through the challenges of high school and was ready for whatever came next. Family members watched proudly as she graduated from Warren Easton High School. Like countless other graduates, she stood on the threshold of adulthood with hopes, dreams, and plans for the future. Looking back now, what makes her story especially heartbreaking is how much she had to look forward to. Her social media accounts reveal a young woman who is excited about life. There are photos celebrating achievements, videos capturing ordinary moments with friends, posts reflecting her personality, interests, and ambitions. Nothing about those posts suggests someone whose life was about to end. Instead, they show a teenager embracing the opportunities ahead of her. One of the most significant decisions she faced involved college. Like many students approaching graduation, Ramya struggled with uncertainty. Which school should she choose? When should she begin? How would she pay for it? What path would lead her toward the future she wanted? These questions weighed heavily on her mind. For months, she considered her options and compared her journey to those of the people around her. Then something changed. She stopped looking at everyone else's timeline and focused on her own. After making her decision, she shared a message online that would later take on a heartbreaking significance. She explained that she had spent so much time worrying about where she should go, when she should start, and how she would afford college that she lost sight of what truly mattered. Eventually, she let go of source. She trusted herself. She trusted God, and she chose the path that felt right. She proudly announced that she was ready to join the Wolf Pack and begin the next chapter of her life. At the time, it was simply a young woman celebrating a major accomplishment. Today, those words feel very different. Today, they serve as a reminder of a future that would never arrive.
go. I wake up to a little
One
bit
of the most difficult aspects of any tragedy involving a young person is realizing how normal life seemed before everything changed. Ramya enjoyed many of the same things other teenagers enjoyed. She loved makeup and beauty. She enjoyed experimenting with different looks and expressing herself creatively. She took pride in her appearance and wasn't afraid to showcase her personality online. She also enjoyed creating TikTok videos. Scrolling through her page reveals moments that once seemed insignificant: dances, trends, laughter, short clips with friends, everyday experiences that felt ordinary at the time. But after her death, those same videos became something else entirely. They became memories, fragments of a life frozen in time. For family members and friends, those videos now serve as reminders of who she was when cameras weren't focused on tragedy. They show a young woman enjoying life, a young woman looking forward to adulthood, a young woman who believed she had years ahead of her. And perhaps that is what makes stories like this so difficult. The future often feels guaranteed when you're 18. There is an assumption that tomorrow will come, that plans will become reality, that opportunities will still be there. But sometimes life changes in an instant, and for Ramya, that moment was approaching far faster than anyone realized. While many parts of Ramya's life appeared to be moving in a positive direction, another area was reportedly becoming increasingly complicated. According to reports, she had been involved in a relationship with Daniel Victor Romero. At one point, the relationship appeared happy. Photographs and videos captured them together. They attended events together. During prom season, they appeared side by side, smiling for cameras and creating memories that should have represented one of the happiest periods of their young lives. From the outside looking in, they appeared to be a typical young couple. But appearances can be deceiving. Relationships often contain struggles that remain hidden from everyone except the people involved. According to information that later surfaced, the relationship had become troubled. Arguments reportedly became more frequent. Tension grew. Disagreements became increasingly difficult to resolve. What began as a relationship between two young people was reportedly evolving into something far more complicated. Many people who have experienced unhealthy relationships understand how slowly these changes can happen. Rarely does everything fall apart overnight. Instead, problems build gradually. Small disagreements become recurring conflicts. Conversations become arguments. Patience becomes frustration. And eventually, someone decides they need to move on. According to reports, that person was Ramya. She had college ahead of her. She had goals she wanted to pursue. She was preparing for a completely new stage of life. At some point, she reportedly chose to end the relationship. But ending a relationship doesn't always mean ending the conflict. Sometimes the emotional aftermath continues long after the breakup itself. And in this case, one unresolved issue would eventually bring the two back together. An iPad. A device that should have been simple to return. A disagreement that should have been easy to resolve. Instead, investigators say it became connected to the final chapter of Ramya's life. By May 2026, graduation celebrations were still fresh. Ramya had every reason to be excited about what lay ahead. The future she had worked so hard for seemed closer than ever. But on May 24th, that future was suddenly placed in jeopardy. According to investigators, Ramya and Daniel met regarding the iPad. What should have been a routine exchange became something far more serious. The plan may have seemed simple: meet, return the device, move on, close the door on a relationship that had already ended. Yet somewhere during that interaction, events took a catastrophic turn. Authorities say an argument broke out. What was said during those moments may never be fully known. The exact emotions, the exact words, the exact sequence of events. Some details may remain unanswered forever. What investigators say they do know is that the disagreement escalated. Then gunfire erupted. The sounds shattered what should have been an ordinary afternoon. In an instant, a young woman who had been planning for college found herself fighting for her life. Witnesses and emergency responders rushed to help. But despite those efforts, the damage was too severe. Ramya Rene Silvan died from her injuries. She was only 18 years old. The contrast was almost impossible to comprehend. Days earlier, people had congratulated her on graduating. Now those same people were sharing memorial posts. Days earlier, conversations centered on college. Now they centered on funeral arrangements. Days earlier, she had been discussing the future. Now there would be no future to discuss. For her family, the loss was unimaginable. For her friends, it felt unreal. For the community, it became another painful reminder of how quickly violence can destroy a promising life.
He is in mourning following a shooting this weekend. The shooting took the life of an 18-year-old who had just graduated high school. Police say she was found with gunshot wounds near Holly Grove and Peach Streets yesterday afternoon. WDSU reporter Alyssa Gomez live at NOPD headquarters with what we know about the investigation so far. Alyssa.
Yeah, Trevor's family members tell me that the victim in that shooting was 18-year-old Ramya Rene Silvan. She had just celebrated some of those major milestones of a young adult, like turning 18 and going to prom and graduating with a bright future ahead of her. But that was all gone in an instant yesterday. Here's a picture of Ramya graduating high school just days ago, a newborn Eastern grad with her yellow and purple regalia, diploma in hand, and a bright smile.
As investigators worked to understand exactly what happened, evidence began to emerge. Authorities eventually arrested Daniel Victor Romero and charged him in connection with Ramya's death. He was charged with second-degree murder. During court proceedings, prosecutors outlined details they believed painted a troubling picture of the events surrounding the shooting. According to information presented in court, 20 bullet casings were recovered from the crime scene. Prosecutors argued that the sheer number of shots fired demonstrated an extreme level of violence. Investigators also examined evidence related to the movements of those involved before the shooting. According to reports, Romero's vehicle was allegedly located 2 blocks away shortly before the incident occurred. The iPad that reportedly contributed to the dispute was also found at the scene. Meanwhile, Ramya's family reportedly told investigators that the relationship had been tumultuous and that the couple had recently broken up. As the case developed, prosecutors argued that Romero posed a danger to the public. They further alleged that attempts had been made to conceal evidence, including the firearm involved. Authorities stated that although Romero eventually surrendered, he reportedly did so after family members encouraged him to come forward. These allegations would become important components of the criminal case moving forward. But for those closest to Ramya, the investigation could never fully answer the question that mattered most. Why? Why had a disagreement escalated to such violence? Why had a young woman with so much ahead of her lost her life? Why had graduation celebrations transformed into mourning within a matter of days? Those questions continue to haunt many people connected to the case.
From graduation to a tragedy in just days. 18-year-old Ramya Rene Silvan was killed Sunday in Holly Grove, allegedly by her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old Daniel Victor Romero. Romero was arrested Monday and is now facing second-degree murder. Tuesday, he appeared in court, handcuffed in an orange jumpsuit with his head hung for most of the hearing. His face remained emotionless, even when the judge ordered he be held without bond. While Romero sits in jail, a community is grieving. In a statement, Warren Easton confirmed Silvan is a recent graduate, writing in part, quote, Ramya was a bright, talented young woman with a promising future ahead of her, and her loss is deeply felt throughout our school community. Alyssa Curtis, WWL, Louisiana.
If convicted, Romero will face a mandatory life sentence without parole.
One of the cruelest realities of modern tragedy is that pieces of a person's life remain online long after they are gone. In Ramya's case, those pieces still exist. The TikTok videos remain, the photographs remain, the makeup posts remain, the graduation memories remain. And perhaps most heartbreakingly, her message about choosing her college path remains as well. For anyone who reads those words today, there is an unavoidable sense of sadness because the person writing them was excited, hopeful, optimistic. She believed she was standing at the beginning of something beautiful. She had no way of knowing that her future would be taken from her before it truly began. When people discuss cases like this, it is easy to focus entirely on the crime, the arrest, the charges, the investigation, the courtroom proceedings. But behind every headline is a human being, a daughter, a friend, a classmate, a young woman who loved beauty, enjoyed making videos, and spent months carefully planning her future. That is the person her family remembers. That is the person her friends miss. And that is the person whose life deserves to be remembered. Today, her story stands as a heartbreaking reminder of how fragile life can be. It is also a reminder of the devastating consequences that can occur when relationship conflicts escalate into violence. For those who knew Ramya, no legal outcome can restore what was lost. No court proceeding can replace birthdays that will never be celebrated. No verdict can create the future she imagined, the college experiences, the career she might have pursued, the dreams she hoped to achieve. All of those possibilities disappeared on a day that should have been completely ordinary. Instead of beginning a new chapter, her story came to an end, and perhaps that is the most heartbreaking part of all. Ramya Rene Silvan had spent years working toward her future. She had finally chosen her path. She was ready to move forward, but she never got the chance. Our sincere condolences go out to Ramya's family, friends, and everyone whose lives were touched by her presence. May her memory continue to live on through those who loved her, and may her story serve as a reminder of the importance of recognizing unhealthy relationship dynamic before they escalate into irreversible tragedy. If you made it all the way to the end of today's video, thank you for taking the time to learn about Ramya's story and helping keep her memory alive. Before you leave, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from and share your thoughts on this case. What part of Ramya's story affected you the most? Do you think there were warning signs that could have prevented this tragedy? Your perspective may help create an important conversation for others watching. And if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel. Every subscription helps us continue bringing attention to cases like this, honoring victims, and keeping their stories from being forgotten. Be sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss future true crime stories and case updates. Thank you again for watching. Please stay safe, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next video.